What cheer, y'all? Welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, what a Belmont Stakes. It was pretty much as advertised, and it was a really exceptional race. Pretty much ended the way we expected in terms of the big three being the top three finishers. Wanted Baeza to do a little better, but alas, that's the way it goes. Uh, what we're going to do is as we do it, we are going to watch this race clean, no commentary whatsoever. Then we're going to watch it and point out some things along the way. So the first one, we're just going to watch it clean.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Belmont Stakes. And as expected, Rodriguez bounces out very quickly. Uncaged has plenty of early interest, as does Crudo, who sprints up alongside Rodriguez. Journalism secures the fourth spot. Maeza's a little bit keen. He is in between horses and 4 lengths off the lead. Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty cruises up along the inside and is suddenly sharing the second position. Hill Road is second to last, and Heart of Honor is at the back of the field. 7 lengths covers them through an opening quarter that went in 23 and 2/5 seconds. And so the lead belongs to Rodriguez, who's in front by a half length. Crudo alongside second. Sovereignty galloping strongly right next to his rival, Journalism. Journalism puts his head into third. Does that Preakness winner. A length and a half behind them comes Uncaged. Baeza is 5 or 6 lengths off the lead. Hill Road and Heart of Honor. They're heading toward the half-mile pole. Hall of Famer Mike Smith and Rodriguez carved out that half in 47 and 3/5 seconds. Crudo a length and a half behind him in second. Journalism in the clear, getting a good trip. Uncaged at the rails. Sovereignty in between those two is fifth down, 4 lengths off the lead. Baeza has asked for a bit more at this stage. He's hard-ridden, 6 lengths off the pace. Hill Road is trying to match strides with him. Heart of Honor has dropped out. 3/4 in 1:12 and 1. Journalism makes a decisive move with 1/4 mile to go, and he takes command of the Belmont Stakes. Sovereignty angles out to try and run him down. It's a rematch of the Kentucky Derby as they come to the 8th bull, and here comes Sovereignty. Sovereignty goes right by Journalism once again, leaving absolutely no doubt who the best 3-year-old in the world is. Sovereignty and Junior Alvarado in the Belmont Stakes. Journalism was second. Baeza finished third.
Okay, now we're going to watch the race and try to stop it at key points along the way and see if we can get a feel for what kind of trip all the contenders had.
They're in the gate.
And we see right out at the break, Journalism stumbled a little bit, but didn't seem to impact him, and everybody was away pretty clean, so we're not going to worry about that. See, Rodriguez, as we expected, was very keen to the lead. Uncaged was as well. Crudo kind of showing his greenness, kind of drifting out a little bit there, but that may have been to kind of shut Journalism off a little bit. I don't know, but anyway. So there they are. That's pretty much as we expected. One thing of note is you can't quite see him, but look how far up Sovereignty is. Much more forwardly placed, and he's behind Uncaged there along the rail. And I expected he was going to be more forwardly placed, being an improving horse. They tend to, when they're that type of caliber, they can go from closers to stalkers. And so that was to be expected, but not quite this far up. That was the trip I thought, frankly, Baeza was going to get. Journalism as well was more forwardly placed, and they had to be because I don't think they would have had a lot of trouble running down Rodriguez if they hadn't. Baeza, you could see, was a little keen, but also a little slow to get going there. And I think more than anything to note on Baeza is that he ran. I thought he ran a good race, but it could have been a lot better because he's lightly raced and he's still improving. Was a little green, but anyway, you see it. Really, the race right here is where it was won because Baeza tactically was just too far back, and that's where we thought Sovereignty would be, and that's why we like Baeza. So anyway, And you see, everybody's pretty much where they were. Hill Road, hugging the rail, Heart of Honor at the back. And I thought Crudo did a pretty good job to give Baeza all he could handle, but I think it was just a little too much too soon. Crudo's going to be a nice horse without a doubt. Great distance pedigree, and I'll expect that he's going to be better as we go. But couldn't quite handle this field at this stage. But and he certainly is going to have to get faster. I think he will. But you see Rodriguez coasting right along, and at this point there really isn't very much change. And Crudo looks like he's starting to weaken a little bit, and now you've got potentially. It really worked out for Sovereignty in great degree because Crudo's starting to back up could have presented problems with Sovereignty to the inside, but he was able to swing around him and just follow journalism, and that's exactly what he did in the Derby, and that's Junior Alvarado knowing that he's got plenty of horse and that he's got enough to run him down. But Rodriguez, at this point, he's moving along pretty well, and nobody's. And this is, I started to wonder about it myself watching it.
Carved out that half in 47 and 3/5 seconds. Crudo a length and a half behind him in second. Journalism in the clear, getting a good trip.
You see, look how small Crudo is in comparison to Sovereignty or Journalism. Here it is, right here, and this is
6 lengths off the pace. Hill Road is trying to match strides with him.
and this is right here where the move is made. Journalism, same as he did in the Derby, swung out about at the top of the turn. Now Baeza, you see, is trying to get up and pretty much take away Sovereignty's lane, but wasn't quite able to do it. Sovereignty was able to swing out and just draft right behind Journalism and make the move when the time was right.
Heart of Honor has dropped out. 3/4 in 1:12 and 1.
You see Hill Road trying to make a move there. And he ran his race. It just, was pretty much what was expected. But here it is right here. And you see Sovereignty just biding his time. And I thought Rodriguez really ran a valiant race. He kept on very well, but as we expected, just wasn't good enough. And Baeza kind of with a suck-up third, sadly. But no doubt who the best horse is, Sovereignty. So let's grade him out. Okay, so let's grade him out. One note we'll make before we get into the specific grades is, obviously, the Belmont really, the Derby didn't do it, the Belmont did, to let you know who the top three-year-olds are in this year's crop, and it's them and everybody else. Go back and look at the gulf there was between those three, and Rodriguez just behind them. But for the most part, they're just the three best 3-year-olds, and frankly, I wanted Baeza to win, but that was the easiest superfecta you'll ever get or trifecta for that matter. Because it was easy to just box those three and then everybody else, and boom, you've got it. So really stratified. I haven't seen a class like this since 2007, where it was Curlin, Street Sense, and Hardspun were just clearly the three best, and then there was everybody else. So it's the pretty. I don't know on the whole what you can say. I mean, you do have some nice horses like Owen Almighty. And I haven't given up on Barnes yet, but these three around 2 turns, I mean, they're just the three best without a doubt. So, grading them individually, Hill Road gets a B because he ran his race. It wasn't good enough. He's a grade 3 horse. I think he's proven that. The Peter Pan is pretty much the kind of race that he can win, where the field isn't as deep and not as classy. He's a nice horse. I think, again, I keep saying it, but you go back to that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and nobody out of that race has done a thing. Nobody. And I think this just proves it, that Hill Road was probably the best of that group, and look where he was. He was 5th, and he was a non-factor 5th. He never was in the race, really. But it was the race that he could run, and he did, so he gets a B. Sovereignty gets an A+. He ran the same race he basically did in the Derby. I like the fact that he showed how malleable he can be, being more forwardly placed. I think that's the sign of maturity and a horse who continues to grow and improve. Uh, it was what they needed to do, and he was capable of doing it. So he proved or refuted those who thought he was pace dependent. I thought he was to a certain degree, but I also knew he was a pretty damn good horse. And sometimes, most times, they can just overcome things like that, and he did. Um, Drafted right behind Journalism, made the move when the time was right. Excellent ride by Junior Alvarado, saved ground on the rail. What can you say? He's the best 3-year-old without a doubt. Rodriguez, I thought, ran an extremely valiant race in defeat. He really didn't look like he was backing up or weakening. He was keeping on. He was running his race. They just were better. That's really what it came down to. And if you look back on the race, how far ahead he was of the rest of the field, save for those three, it gives you an idea. He's pretty good too. And I did wonder at the top of the stretch if they were going to catch him. Because I thought he ran a very good race and a little bit better than I expected. I did expect that he would be fourth at best, but it was the way I watched him run that tells me this horse definitely has maybe a little more quality than I thought. I don't like the short strides at 1.25 miles. That's going to be a detriment to him. But you put him back at like a mile race, or maybe one turn mile and an eighth right in there, and he's going to be pretty lethal. So like the effort by Rodriguez. Uncaged gets an F because they sent him early, but aside from that, he was no factor in the race whatsoever, and it was ridiculous that he was even in the race. He had no business being in this race and no chance whatsoever. It's Mike Rapoli having to satisfy his ego by having a horse in the Belmont. Mike Rapoli does a lot of good things for horse racing, a lot of good things. I want to underscore that, but this is one of the things that turns people off to him because he just insists on being heard and being a presence. They'd be much more willing to listen to his ideas if he wouldn't do things like this. And I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's the way it is. He's a good person for the sport. We need people like him, but this is something I don't think was necessary. So Uncaged, in short, gets an F. Crudo, I thought, ran a little better than I thought he would. He's a small horse. I didn't notice that really until you get him up against the likes of Journalism and Sovereignty. But I thought he carried himself pretty well. He was wide throughout most of the race, and he looked a little green, but not, and I think his best days are ahead of him. I think this was a little early, a little too much for him, but I think he's going to be a solid 2-turn horse, and the fact that he was able to hang in as long as he did, I think speaks to the caliber of horse that you got. So with a little more experience, I think he's going to be pretty good. So C+ because he ran a little bit better than I thought, but ended up where I expected. Baeza gets a B-. I think it's just he was green. Really what it comes down to is he's still lightly raced. We have to remember that. He took him a little to get going. Then once he did, he was a little keen. And Flavien Prat really had to get after him to get him going in the stretch. And he finally did. And sadly, was a suck-up third. It's really the extent of it. He was no threat to Sovereignty or Journalism. But he did demonstrate that he is the third best 3-year-old, I think, because even on his, not one of his better days, he still ran third and dusted the rest of the group. So there's better days ahead for Baeza. I really like him. It's just, I think it was, I don't think he regressed from the Derby. I want to be clear on that. I don't think so. I just think it took him, just being lightly raced, it was, he just had one of those subpar days. It's really what it comes down to. But he ran an okay, it was an okay third. So for that, he gets a B-. Could have been better. That's what the minus is for. Journalism gets an A because he ran his race. He's the second best 3-year-old. That's it. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong in the Derby either. And he just ran against a better horse, and that was all it was. He had a hell of a Triple Crown. He finished first or second in all 3 legs. That doesn't happen very often, and he's to be given a lot of credit for running in all 3 races. Do I think necessarily running in the Preakness took something out of him? I don't really think so. I mean, Sovereignty beat him in the Derby when they were both on equal terms, and he did it the same way. I just think Sovereignty's a better horse. Uh, I thought both of them showed their class, the fact that they could run closer to the pace, which was necessary. And we'll see in the Travers. I mean, maybe if they're both evenly matched again, we'll see what happens. But journalism, I thought, ran an excellent race, and there's no knocks on it whatsoever. It just wasn't as good as Sovereignty. That's all. Heart of Honor gets an F. He just didn't factor. Um, it was. I thought he may have given a little better of showing than he did, but really, his race was over at the top of the turn. I mean, he just was nowhere, and he never made any type of move whatsoever. So, Heart of Honor gets an F. So, in sum, it was just like the Kentucky Derby. The Belmont was run exactly the way we expected. I mean, it's so odd to this whole year has been pretty form fitting. There hasn't been save for the Preakness, the little controversy there. These races have just gone according to plan, and like I said, it's the easiest superfecta you could ever get. It was no doubt it was going to be those top three, and then whoever else just ended up in fourth. In this case, it happened to be Rodriguez. Could have easily been Hill Road, but all in all, it's I don't know what it says about this crowd. I mean, because you've got three really good horses, maybe four. Let's throw Rodriguez in there, but he's even a cut below the top three. And then there's everybody else. I mean, Owen Almighty's a nice horse, but it's definitely a top-heavy 3-year-old crop. We'll see what Burnham Square does. He should be running coming up, and but it's these three. It's just awful fun to watch the three of them knock heads continually, and that's always what we want: is seeing the best horses go against each other, and. Saratoga the weekend, I thought, Saturday sucked. I mean, it just did. With all the rain, all the turf races being canceled or taken off the turf, it just made for a pretty lousy weekend. That's Saratoga. That's going to happen. But they did endeavor to give us a really great quality card. And I think they did that. The Met Mile was certainly a hell of a good race. Raging Torrent, really showed that he's pretty damn good. You hold off Fierceness and White of Barrio. So there were some nice flashes, and certainly was anchored by a really nice Belmont Stakes. So that's the Belmont. And if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who, again, have made this a wonderful Triple Crown Trail. I can't thank you enough for it. I know I do this repeatedly, but I really want you to know that I appreciated it. And it's made for a great community, and it makes for, sometimes it's hard to do these posts. Time is of the essence quite a bit with me, but it becomes a labor of love when I get the nice comments I get from you guys, and your participation makes for a great community. So again, thank you very much. Well, now that the Triple Crown Trail is over, we're on to the second half of the season. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do any Royal Ascot coverage this week, and sadly, I'm not going to be able to watch the races. Life gets in the way sometimes, and I love Royal Ascot. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. But we've got the Stephen Foster coming up. We've got certainly the Haskell, Saratoga, Del Mar. We're going to have full coverage for all of those. So stay tuned to Right at the Wire for the rest of the Thoroughbred season, all the way into the Breeders' Cup and beyond. So we will be there for you. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.